Well, good afternoon, friends, and welcome to episode 3 of this latest video series on prayer. As you may recall, we're using this Anne Lamott book. It's called Help, Thanks, Wow, and we're using it as a means to exploring prayer. In our first episode, we talked about prayer in general terms, and then I moved into that first section of help as a prayer, and now we move towards thanks or towards gratitude. I like how Lamott begins her chapter. She says, thanks is the short form of the original prayer I used to say in gratitude for any unexpected grace in my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So 3 thank yous was that original prayer for her. She then says, as she grew spiritually, the prayer became the more formal thank you. Just simply thank you. But now, from the wrinkly peaks of maturity, it is back to simply thanks, to thanks. I can't think of a better time than to discuss this prayer of thanks, because we are in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis, and there is much around us that represents loss and despair and darkness. But here's the truth. The truth is that there is always goodness around us, always. That goodness is a grace. It's a grace that is offered to us in every moment of our lives. If we can recognize that goodness and grace in all times, then we develop this posture, this attitude of thankfulness, of gratitude. When we do that, we commit ourselves to this prayer, to this daily, to this momentary, to this perhaps every second of our lives prayer, which Lamott describes as simply thanks. Thanks. How can we, in this time, how can we slow down? How can we pause? How can we shut off some of the negativity, the despair? Not to disregard it or ignore it. I mean, we have to move through it. We have to often face it. And we have to be with people in the midst of their facing of pain and loss and despair. But even in all of that, there is still goodness around us, and we have to see that goodness. And when we do, we commit ourselves to this prayer of thankfulness, a prayer that we need now more than ever. I want to share this story with you that Lamott shares in her book. She says this. She says, recently I was going to meet my great and amazing friends, Barbara and Susie, for a walk, or rather a stroll and a roll, as Barbara has Lou Gehrig's disease. Lou Gehrig's is the one disease you must avoid if you can, she says. But her friend went ahead and got a full-blown case, which has come to mean she uses a walker, feeding tubes, and a computerized speaking device called Kate that works through her iPad. So Susie drove us to see the Pacific Ocean from above San Francisco's Moraga Steps. I had not yet settled down into what is true, that Barbara is pretty sick and getting worse. So I sat in a state of jovial nervousness in the back seat, feeling alone and useless and superficial. When we arrived, the view was socked in with fog. We gamely got out of the car anyway, and on top of everything, the Lou Gehrig's, the fog, my anxious sorrow, there was one of those mean winds that prick at your body and your mind and your very being. Plus, they make your skin look terrible, just ghastly. It was all hopeless, she says. I had no choice but to pray. This is all a mess, I said to God. I love these 2 women so much, and I had such high hopes for connection and joy today. And then I got my divine revelation. We all needed to get back into the car immediately. This took a while, as there is not much immediately when you're with someone who has ALS. But at some point, warmth and golden sun flooded through the car windows, and Susie drove us around the neighborhood. And from inside, we took in the brilliant gardens of succulents and crazy bright, splashy, exotic petals. We found the one perfect parking spot at the foot of the steps where we could spend as much time as we liked looking up directly at the magical mosaic on the tall, steep steps. At the bottom, random plump fish in nursery colors swim against the deep blue of the sea, and then come creatures that are beneath the ground, spiraling to animals that walk on the earth, and then to what is above, to the sky, and birds and clouds and an exuberant Mexican sun, which curls up into the expansiveness of a starry, starry night. She writes, "We all got so happy. We talked about real things for an hour: life, death, families, feeding tubes, faith. I asked Barbara, who does not eat food anymore, I asked her, what are you most grateful for these days? She typed on her iPad, and Kate's mechanical voice spoke for her. The beauty of nature, the birds, the flowers, the beauty of friends. This," Lamott writes, "is called the radical gratitude in the face of whatever life throws at you. I was so glad and grateful," she says, "to be there with them on that day. I was euphoric. For moments, for an hour, in the face of the winds and the fog and of sickness, what emerged was some measure of light, of sunlight, and it exposed the goodness and the grace that was already there. Our challenge today and every day is to see that goodness and that grace and that beauty, because it is already there. Those things are given to us in every moment. It's a wonderful time, brothers and sisters. It's a wonderful time to spend time with one another. Whether it's those that are in physical proximity of you in your homes, or those that you can reach out to through social media, through a phone call, whatever it may be. May you take account of the goodness and grace that is in your life right now. May you realize the extra time that you have and utilize it to have conversations that matter. And in doing all of that, may you engage in this prayer of thank you today and every day. Amen? Amen.
You made this world, you made this world, you made this world. Thank you, thank you. You gave me life, you gave me life, you gave me life. Thank you, thank you. You brought this peace, you brought this peace, you brought this peace. You sowed these seeds, you sowed these seeds, you sowed these seeds. Thank you. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Open me, open me. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Open me, open me, open me. You you, thank you.